how did you, I mean, like you said, your family had a farm. What were you doing prior to this? Like, when did you envision yourself this being like the career path of the thing that you wanted to do? Is it always something you kind of had in the back of your head, or was it, hey, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I found joy like on my parents' farm? And just walk me through how you got basically to that headspace where you're like, this is something I'm going to pursue.
I studied geology in college, and
Nice.
I never had any pressure from my family to ever use my degree because my dad built houses his whole life after studying electrical engineering and said he never used his degree. So that was super nice to have that lack of pressure. Kind of a impetus from my family, a really freedom to like go do your own thing and you're going to be successful. So go find out what you actually want to do. And I moved to Vietnam when I was 23 to teach English, got really bored, started reading a lot, and kind of came to the realization that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, start a business. But moved back, started working in geology, realized there was no career path there, and knew that in the back of my head, I'd wanted to start a business. So I had a couple side hustles selling stickers that didn't go anywhere. My heart wasn't in them. And also, they weren't really, the upside wasn't there. So
Yeah.
I was looking for something to really commit to and be like, I'm going to do this. I want this huge life changing thing. And I was on the phone with my dad, just talking like normal, and wine came up. And so my dad had been making wine mostly as a hobby for maybe 10 years at that point. And there was a couple years where he sold it as had a liquor license, and it was a huge hit. Like the wine that he was selling was the It wine in the Valley, which has 8 wineries. I'm in the West Elks AVA, so the highest wine region in North America. And I knew my dad kind of didn't really know what he was doing. He was doing it as a hobby and was super hands off with it, which was great. Natural wine is something that I was wanting to do, but I kind of had the thought like, well, shoot, if my dad can do it and be successful making wine, I'm sure I can figure it out as well. So I had no winemaking experience. I grew up with my dad doing it, but during winemaking season, I was always busy playing soccer. So my only experience was working in the vineyard as a kid. But I never really expected to take on the winery. I never really expected to move back to my hometown of 2,000 people in Western Colorado until I was 40 with a wife and kids. But here I was at 25 with no winemaking experience, starting a winery. And it took 2 years to, and like lots of future investment to actually find out that I had product market fit. But once I did, I sold out quickly and have just kind of continued building from there.
Real quick on my dad's a geologist, and
Mhm.
he got the degree kind of last second. He was like getting a teaching degree, and then like I think his last year switched to geology and got it, and it ended up leading him to the oil and gas industry, which moved him from Pennsylvania to Texas, and then ultimately from Texas to Oklahoma, which is where we live today. And just what were your thoughts getting? I mean, I've never. My dad always grew up doing like the rock talks. He would come to my school and like bring rocks and show them to us. And I thought that was really cool. Like, your parent like career day or whatever. And so I always I grew up around him talking about geology every time we go on vacations or even here locally. He's always talking about it. It's always been fascinating to me. But what drew you to that? And what were you doing in the field whenever before you decided to stop doing it?
I was planning on being a physics major and then going to get an engineering degree afterwards. And just because I'm a pretty math oriented guy. And then I took one geology class and realized that I could just go camping for 2 weeks every month for school, and kind of just dropped everything and joined that because that sounded really fun. Uh, I've always been a guy who like grew up on a farm, obviously, but was pretty oriented towards the outdoors. So that's what brought me in. Also, just thinking in like three-dimensional, spatial, and temporal, you really get put in a different mindset thinking about geology over 1 million year time frames, thinking about the layers of rock throughout the earth, seeing deeper into the surface, and so that really grabbed onto me. But I got a job doing hand geologic mapping, so physically drawing geologic maps and like correlating all the different maps for all over the world into like one scale, and just because it's piecemeal all over the place. And so that was a part time or a a placeholder job that I got, and I was hoping to get another like step up, a little bit more serious, actually go into the field and do geologic work outside because that's what drew me in. I wanted to be outside doing geology, but I realized pretty quickly, or I guess in a year, that even if you got that job, for the most part, what I wanted to be doing would be you're outside for 2 weeks doing field work, and then you basically write a thesis report for the next 6 months. And in college, that was kind of me banging my head against the wall. So I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do.